Zach is back. It's the Zach Gelb Show on Fox Sports 920 The Jersey.
We got a lot more audio to play for you. We'll play you that Brady commercial that aired after the game, which was brilliant. Robert Kraft addressing Patriots Nation at NRG Stadium. And then also, we'll give you my reaction. I have exclusive audio as the Patriots had a walk-off touchdown, James White on the pitch to win Super Bowl 51. And someone that was in the building last night did a marathon of a post-game show on the Patriots Radio Network. The Sports Hub 98.5 is the former Super Bowl champion. Bill Parcells calls him Beach Ball, and that is the great Steve DeOssie who joins us right now. Steve, congratulations, and how are you?
I'm doing great, Zach. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. It's been a long week, but the payoff was worth it.
No doubt about that. And when the team's down 25 points, heck, no one's thinking they could come back besides Tom Brady, Bill Belichick, and I'm sure there was even some Patriot players, even though they won't admit it, they probably thought, yeah, this thing isn't looking out like it's going to turn into a victory. You take us through the reaction last night on the postgame show and just your reaction to what happened at NRG Stadium, because it was something magical to watch.
Well, the first thing, I was down in the club seats before for the first three quarters of the game before I went up to the broadcast booth. And when the Patriots are down 25-0, 25 points, 28-23, I was with a bunch of people from New England, and I overheard at least a half a dozen conversations about, hey, let's beat traffic. Traffic's terrible. Let's get out of here. We'll beat traffic. We'll get back downtown. And then on my way, when I finally left at about 2:30 in the morning, my Uber driver said he picked up two groups of New England fans in the third quarter.
Wow.
That decided to just leave. And listen, I get it. I understand it. You know, you're down 25. You never see anything like that, especially in a Super Bowl. And the Patriots are giving you nothing to make you really believe that they had it in them, other than their history of 15 or 16 years. But even that was just overwhelming. And I put it out on the postgame show. I said, look, if you're telling me that you believe when the Patriots were down 25 points, if you believe they were going to win this game, you're lying. You're not. You might have had faith. There's a difference. I'm sorry, you might have had hope, but there's a difference between hope, hoping your team comes back, and knowing your team was going to come back. But it was just an amazing evening, and to see so many. Quite often, you see comebacks. They get stalled by one play, one defensive play by the team that's leading, or one bad offensive play by the team that's trying to come back. And the things that had to happen, and the way everything fell in place for the Patriots, I've never seen anything like that, especially in such a big game. I mean, they made very few mistakes defensively, and the one that the long check down pass to Freeman to start a drive, they recovered from that fine. And then the offense made so few mistakes in that situation. They literally one first down or one better offensive play calling by Shanahan for the Falcons could have changed things. It could have changed things for much worse. If the Patriots don't sack Ryan on a 7-step drop on, what was it, 3rd and 2 or 3rd and 1, something like that, a 7-step drop and you sack him, and then you get a holding call. Now you're out of field goal range. That field goal cements your victory, and you combine the way the Patriots played, which was incredible in that last 20 minutes, with the fact that Atlanta helped them out with a few mistakes. That's a recipe for disaster. But even that 25 points, you got to be kidding me. That just does not happen, and I'm glad I was there to witness history.
Hey, it was unbelievable to witness it last night. I kind of felt like my alarm was going to go off eventually, and I would wake up from that dream. But you're right on the sequence. It was bad play calling late in the game by the Falcons. Have to also give credit for Hightower for really igniting this run. The Edelman catch was unbelievable. James White had a monster of a game. But just one thing, Steve, that I think it's going to be kind of forgotten, and it's going to take a little bit more of the average football fan to recognize it. But I remember last year, I was bitching about Belichick going for it in the AFC Championship game. I know it's not the preeminent turning point, but I thought it did play a big role. That field goal by Gostkowski, a lot of coaches would have went for it, but that field goal just to make it a 16-point game, I thought was a big turning point.
Well, I absolutely agree, and I'm sitting in the stands, and there's people complaining that he was settling for the field goal. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, coaches will defer that decision until they have to. You have to be able to put yourself in a position where, okay, is it a long shot to get 2 touchdowns and 2 two-point plays after each of those?
Yes.
Sure it is. That's a long shot. But if you don't put yourself in the position to take that long shot, you're absolutely helpless. So that was Bill Belichick's thing. He was thinking, okay, well, yeah, of course, he knows. He's seen the story of the game. He knows how tough it is to get 2 touchdowns and 2 two-point plays. But without that field goal, you're not in position to even have a shot at it. So I thought that was a perfect coaching move, despite the complaints coming from a ton of fans in the stands. But it was 4th and what? It was 4th and long. I mean, quite long, 4th and 13 or 15, whatever it was. But the idea to get that field goal was by the numbers the exact correct play to call.
Steve DeOssie with us, was at the game last night, did the Patriots postgame show on their radio network. The Patriots have been screwed with big catch after big catch. Tyree, Manningham, also people kind of forget what happened in Super Bowl 49 just because of how it ended with Butler coming through. To finally be on the other side of it, it was sweet last night, Steve. What a catch by Edelman.
And it was just ridiculous. And it's one of those catches that you see in regular speed and say, wow, that's a pretty good catch. And then you look at it in slow motion, just the incredible effort and concentration, just about as absurd as it gets. And, that's second probably only to the helmet catch by Tyree when you talk about incredible catches in the Super Bowl. But you heard more than a few players and a couple of coaches refer to the idea that it's about time that one of those crazy catches went our way. They've been victimized. The one you referred to against Seattle was, I think it was Curse that made the catch. Curse. And that could have easily turned into a nightmare for the Patriots without Malcolm Butler. But, it was it's odd that, I mean, granted it's the end of the season, so you can talk about things, but there were a few guys in their press conferences and in the locker room afterwards that mentioned the idea that it's about time that the Patriots got themselves a catch to remember that went their way, and you got to give all the credit in the world to Edelman. And I'm so tired of hearing the talk about Edelman being a system receiver.
Oh, that's nonsense.
He's just a Welker clone and all that stuff. That kid is a player, and he's got heart, and pound for pound is one of the toughest guys in the NFL. And Tom Brady knows it and appreciates everything he does to help win.
You know it better than anyone. The Patriot fan all year long, they wanted to see Roger Goodell hand over that Lombardi trophy to the Patriots, and you finally got to see it last night. And it even back at the AFC Championship game, that was deafening chants of "We want Roger." And last night you had just hellacious boos in that building. How about that at the end of the game after they win, Goodell handing the trophy over to the Patriots and Patriot Nation just booing the commissioner? I thought it was great.
Yeah, it was great, and you can understand they wanted to vent, especially when he chose to go to Atlanta 2 weeks in a row for the playoffs and completely avoid Foxborough. You know the fans were waiting for the opportunity, and then that's one of those just the sweet revenge things that a lot of fans think. I thought Tom Brady handled it well. I thought that he could have said something, but he took the high road. Bob Kraft, and I heard the promo for his sound. Bob Kraft made a direct reference to it. Didn't call it.
You knew that was going to happen.
Yep, he had to, and the fans just loved hearing it. And it's one of those, I don't know, what do you call it? A cleansing moment where you just everything that you've fought for as a player, and everything that was thrown against you, and everything you had to overcome was just wiped away, and you could see that Brady was happy to be there, and he wasn't going to cause a scene. Causing a scene to Tom Brady would have been taking away from his teammates, and you heard him on the podium afterwards. It's all about his teammates and his coaches. For him to take a shot at Goodell, I honestly believe that he thinks it would have taken away from his teammates and from the moment. So he handled it the right way. And Bob Kraft came in and did the right thing too. He came in and he took the slightly veiled shot at Goodell, and I don't blame him one bit. I don't blame him at all. They deserve to flex their muscles a little bit and pound their chest. They did an unbelievable job this year.
You really saw how much, and I know Brady won't admit it publicly, he now goes on this zen feeling of wanting everything to be positive, but you saw after the game that commercial debut where he says, Roger that, and that is not a commercial that they just, they win the Super Bowl and then produce it 5 seconds later. That was some serious thought from the Patriots quarterback. So I don't want to hear Tom Brady saying he's all positive thoughts, because he showed his real feelings last night, and I thought it was great to see.
He did, and I was so surprised because you had to do that a while ago. I'm so surprised that didn't get out, especially in Boston. Everybody knows everybody else, and all. That's a local commercial. That wasn't a national commercial. So when he did something like that, Patriots fans in Massachusetts, I got 100 calls from friends or text messages from friends talking about that. Roger, that was good for him. Good for him. That's a nice way to take a shot. And he knew it was going to be on a national stage, even though it was a local commercial. The guy doesn't do local commercials. This is Tom Brady, right? He doesn't do local commercials. He's a national presence. But he did this knowing full well that would get national exposure. And, good for him. You feel like he's a competitor. Tom Brady's one of the toughest competitors I've ever met. And in his competition with Roger Goodell, he got the last word in that commercial. He got a nice little dig with what I think will probably be the final word on it.
Since you bring that up, as Steve DeOssie joins us, you have spent many years in the National Football League and now many years covering it. You've seen a lot of great players. Number one, is Brady the greatest quarterback of all time? And two, is he the greatest player of all time?
Well, when you just look at what he's done and you look at where he's come from and you take into account how difficult it is now to maintain that level, and not just maintain the level, but to make better players around you better. It's one of those scenarios you look at and say, okay, I had him down as the best quarterback ever before this game. This basically raised that pedestal a little bit higher. I don't think there can be much argument at all, and I know people will try, but I can't believe there'd be much argument at all that he's the best quarterback ever. In terms of best player ever, so I could see how you could very easily make a case for that. I'd make a case at times for Lawrence Taylor, because Lawrence Taylor not only changed that outside linebacker position, he forced coaches to change that left tackle position too. So you could put a case out there, but when you just look at the raw numbers and the guys he's played with, and the you're not talking about a Hall of Fame roster that he played with. He had a year and a half total with Randy Moss, who's probably one of the only surefire Hall of Famers that he actually played with. You might get Ty Law in there in the next couple of years. He was close on the balloting this year, but in terms of surefire first ballot Hall of Famers, there's one guy, and that was Randy Moss. And that was just a year and a half because Tom Brady got injured in 2008, and he didn't get to play with him. So I could make a great case that he's the best player of all time, not just quarterback, best NFL player of all time.
Steve, you know Bill Belichick so well, and you know the genius behind the hoodie. You see the way just this year, and it's been Bill's MO in his entire career, is just adapting and winning with less. He gets Brady out for 4 games. He has Gronk out for the season, trades Jamie Collins, trades Chandler Jones, and still wins a Super Bowl. Take me behind the scenes of just what makes Belichick so great and how he's able to do these things that no one else in the league is consistently able to do in this era.
Well, there's a few things. There's a few things with Belichick. First off, he's the smartest football man I've ever met. And I don't say that lightly because I played for Tom Landry. I played for Bill Parcells. I played for just some brilliant assistant coaches too. There's nobody in the same breath as Bill Belichick. The second thing is he's an incredible teacher. He loves teaching as much as he loves anything. I was interviewing him on Mondays for about 10 years, ended up in the Boston market. And I realized early on, and I kind of knew it anyway, but I realized early on the best way to get Bill Belichick talking, because sometimes he can be a little, I don't want to say surly, but a little less than forthcoming. But the best way to get him to talk is 2 ways. You either get him to teach something, and you give him an opportunity, you phrase the question so he has an opportunity to teach something, or you phrase a question where he can talk about the history of the league and how things fit, how current things fit within the history of the league. He's that brilliant when it comes to the NFL. The other thing is, I've never met a coach who is more obsessed with making sure that his backup players are so prepared to come in and play. Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. He will. You can't get the backup players the reps that you get your starters, but he will absolutely be so demanding of these backup, and his coaches too, of these backup players in meetings, even more so than the starters. The starters are getting reps. They're starters for a reason. These backup players, the only way you really can prepare them is mentally. You can't prepare them you can't give them the reps that you give your starters. So I've never seen a coach that is so hyper-focused on making sure that his guys are prepared. And the other thing is, and we talk about guys like Jamie Collins and Chandler Jones, if they don't want to fit into what he's trying to accomplish, and Jamie Collins is one of the more talented linebackers I've seen in a while. But if you're not ready to fit into what he wants you to do and how he wants you to fit into this defense, he'll give you the opportunities. He gave Jamie Collins plenty of opportunities to do it. I think Jamie Collins was a guy that saw free agent coming and thought free agency coming and wanted to be a big play guy. That's how you get more money in free agency. But he doesn't care. He's all about the sum of the parts. He's not about the parts being more important than what they're trying to accomplish overall.
And what I also like about Bill, and sometimes it's frustrating, like when you look at the history with Richard Seymour and Lawyer Malloy, but those were the right moves. He finds a way also to get rid of a player a year or two earlier than their expiration date. And then the guys he brings in, they're not studs. Like if you look at some of the guys that he won with last night, Eric Rowe is not a stud. You know, some of the linebackers aren't studs, but he just asks them to do their strengths, and they do those strengths, and they end up becoming part of that winning culture to replace some of those players that we've mentioned.
I learned something very early on when I came to New York and I won the starting job at inside linebacker. In one of the first meetings that we had when the season started, watching film, and he asked me, "Hey, Steve, what do you think about trying to do this, such and such?" I said, "Yeah, sure, Coach, whatever you need." He shuts off the video, turns the lights on, and says, "What do you mean, what do I need?" I said, "Well, Coach, I'll do whatever you need." He goes, "I didn't ask you if you'll do whatever I need. I asked you how you feel about doing this. And what I need from you is an honest answer, and I'm never going to hold it against you if you're honest with me. What I'll do is find a different way to use your abilities to the best of what we're trying to accomplish with this defense." And that was a unique idea for me. I came from Tom Landry, and his coaches were very, very bright coaches and great coaches. But when they came to you with a game plan, it was like Moses coming from the mountain with the Ten Commandments. Here's what you do. Bill Belichick sees what players can do and says, "Okay, I can use this in my defense. I can tailor this to make this help our team be better." He's not sitting there trying to put a square peg into a round hole. He's taking advantage of what he sees in front of him and making these guys better players, because when you're doing something you're comfortable with, when you're doing something you're confident in, you're going to be a better football player. And Bill Belichick is a guy that instills that in a lot of his players.
Steve, last one before we let you run, and I appreciate you coming on today, because I know, just like myself, you're probably very tired after the crazy show, and we're all just running on fumes at this point. If you're an Atlanta fan and an Atlanta player, you're up 25 points. You're up late in the game. How the heck do you wake up today?
You wake up and if I was one of the players, I would get together with some of my teammates and sit there and have a little commiseration, saying get it out of you and talk about it and be straightforward and honest about what happened and you look around and say, "Hey, look, we've got a pretty good core of young guys here, and we can do big things, but we can't let this be our defining moment." That's what these guys have to do, and that's what Quinn has to do as a coach. You took the one of the best franchises in the history of the NFL to the brink. Granted, you gave up a lead that should have been insurmountable, but the first thing I would do as a coach and the first thing I do as a player is talk it out a little bit. Be honest about it. Understand why you lost, how you lost, and what the direct causes were. But you can't just sit back and ignore it and say, "Okay, well, that was a fluke, that happened," or whatever. You got to learn from it. You got to figure out, what the hell we did, and defensively, offensively, whatever it is, you got to figure out. And coaching too. Coaches got to be honest. They got to look themselves in the mirror. Although Shanahan will be coaching out on the West Coast, but if you try to just sweep this under the rug, that's the worst thing you can do for a team. You gotta air it out and talk about it and be honest and not just with yourself, be honest with your teammates and the coaches have to be honest with themselves and their team too. So that's easily the best way to handle something like this.
Steve, congratulations. Appreciate the time and safe travels back to your destination. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Zach. I appreciate it. I'm going to go out and grab myself a steak tonight, relax, have a cigar, and then catch a nice early flight. I'm actually flying into New Jersey to go see my grandson and spend a few days in Jersey and just decompress from this whole week. So I'm looking forward to it. Perfect.
We got to get you into our Jersey studios one of these days, Steve.
That sounds good, my friend. I'm down there a bunch. I always tell my son and his wife I'm coming down to see them, but they know exactly why I'm coming down. I'm coming down to see the little one, so I'm down there all the time.
Seems like you're a big softy.
I am a mush and a half, and it's the best thing ever.
Love it, Steve. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Zach. Talk to you soon.